When a billionaire CEO walked into that restaurant holding her son's hand, everyone stared. But not because of her designer dress or her reputation. They stared because she looked terrified. And the man waiting for her, he had no idea his life was about to change forever. If you want to see how far this story reaches, hit that like button and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. Now let me tell you what really happened that Thursday night. The reservation was for 7:15 p.m., but Ava Sterling arrived at 7:12 p.m. because that's what anxious people do. They show up early and pretend it's just good planning. She stood outside Marcello's, a restaurant she'd never been to because someone else had chosen it, which already felt wrong. Ava Sterling didn't let other people make decisions. She made billion-dollar acquisitions before breakfast. She'd fired executives for hesitating. She'd rebuilt her father's failing tech company into an empire that employed 14,000 people across 6 continents. But right now, standing on a sidewalk in downtown Seattle with her 7-year-old son's hand in hers, she felt like she was about to walk into a shareholder meeting without her notes. "Mom, you're squeezing too hard." Ava looked down at Leo. His brown eyes, so much like his father's, unfortunately, stared up at her with that mix of concern and irritation that only a child can pull off. "Sorry, baby." She loosened her grip but didn't let go. "Are we going in or are we just going to stand here?" Leo adjusted his glasses, a gesture he did when he was uncomfortable. He'd been doing it a lot lately. "We're going in." Ava smoothed down the front of her dress, navy blue, not too formal, not too casual, chosen after 3 outfit changes and a phone call to her assistant who had politely reminded her that this was supposed to be fun. "But Leo, remember what we talked about? Be polite. Don't talk about video games the whole time. Don't ask how much money people make." He recited it like a grocery list. "And don't tell anyone that you cry at night sometimes." That last one hit her in the chest. I never said that." "You didn't have to." Leo shrugged, too wise for 7. "I can hear you through the wall." Ava knelt down, not caring about her dress on the concrete. "Leo, listen to me. Tonight is just dinner. That's all. If it's weird, we leave. If you don't like him, we never see him again. Okay?" "What if I do like him?" The question caught her off guard. Then we'll figure it out." Like we figured out Dad? There it was. The name she'd been trying not to think about all day. Marcus, her ex-husband, Leo's father, the man who'd decided that marriage vows were more like marriage suggestions and that his 24-year-old personal trainer was more interesting than his family. "This is nothing like your dad," Ava said, more sharply than she meant to. She took a breath. "This is different. This man, Noah, I don't actually know what he is. Your Aunt Rachel set this up, remember? Aunt Rachel set you up with that guy who collected dolphin figurines. That was one time, and we agreed never to speak of it again." Ava stood, brushing off her knees. "Come on, we're already late." "We're early. We're late for being early." Leo sighed the way only a child forced to endure adult nonsense can sigh, and together they walked toward the entrance. Marcello's was one of those restaurants that tried very hard to be elegant without being pretentious. Exposed brick, soft lighting, jazz playing just loud enough to cover conversation, but not so loud you had to shout. The hostess, a young woman with perfect posture and a smile that didn't reach her eyes, looked up as they entered. "Good evening. Do you have a reservation?" "Sterling. Party of 3. Ava hated how uncertain she sounded. In boardrooms, her voice could cut through steel. Here, she sounded like she was asking permission. The hostess scanned her list. "Yes, Ms. Sterling. Your other party is already here. Right this way." "Already here?" Of course he was already here. Ava felt Leo's hand tighten in hers as they followed the hostess through the restaurant. She could feel eyes on them, on her specifically. She was used to that. When you're a woman under 40 running a Fortune 500 company, people stare. When you're doing it while visibly bringing a child to what is obviously a date, they stare harder. A woman at a nearby table whispered something to her companion. Ava caught the words "single mother" and "desperate" and felt her jaw clench. Leo, thankfully, was too busy looking at the ceiling lights to notice. The hostess stopped at a table near the back, quieter, more private. And there he was. Noah Carter stood when he saw them, and Ava's first thought was that Rachel had undersold him. Her sister had described Noah as normal-looking and kind of quiet, which in Rachel's language usually meant not actively repulsive. But the man standing in front of her was normal looking was actually accurate, she realized. He wasn't model handsome. He was regular human handsome. Brown hair that looked like he'd tried to style it but given up halfway through, a slight stubble that suggested he'd forgotten to shave that morning, kind eyes that had wrinkles at the corners like he smiled a lot. He wore a button-down shirt that was probably his nicest one, and it fit him well enough to suggest he had broad shoulders under there, but not so well that he'd bought it recently. He looked, Ava thought, like someone who'd never heard of a personal shopper, and somehow that was fine. "Ava?" He smiled, uncertain. "I'm Noah. It's nice to—" He stopped because he'd just noticed Leo half hiding behind Ava's leg, and then something happened that Ava didn't expect. Noah didn't do what most men did when they met Leo. He didn't ignore him and focus on Ava. He didn't give him that weird head pat thing that adults who don't know children do. He didn't crouch down to Leo's level in that exaggerated way that screamed, "I'm great with kids, see?" Instead, Noah just paused. He looked at Leo like he was trying to figure something out. Then he pulled out the chair next to his own and gestured to it. "You must be Leo," he said, conversational, normal. "Your Aunt Rachel told me you like to sit where you can see the kitchen. Something about wanting to know if the chef is having a good day?" Leo's eyes widened. He looked up at Ava, who was just as surprised. Yeah, Leo said quietly. "If the chef is yelling, the food tastes angry." Noah nodded seriously. "That's a solid theory. I never thought about it, but it makes sense." He glanced at Ava. "Is it okay if he sits here? Otherwise I can move." "No, that's fine." Ava was still processing the fact that this man she'd never met knew something about her son that she'd forgotten. They sat. Noah waited until both Ava and Leo were settled before sitting himself, which was such a small thing, but it registered. The hostess left menus and disappeared. There was a moment of silence where all three of them studied their menus with the intensity of people trying to avoid eye contact. The jazz played on. Somewhere, a fork clinked against a plate. Leo broke first. "Do they have chicken fingers?" Noah glanced at his menu. "Doesn't look like it, but they have chicken piccata, which is basically fancy chicken fingers with lemon and capers." "What are capers?" "Tiny salty things that taste like pickles and regret." Leo laughed, actually laughed, and Ava felt something in her chest loosen slightly. "You don't have to get the piccata," Noah continued. "I was just thinking out loud. What do you usually like?" "Mac and cheese, but Mom says I can't order mac and cheese every time we go out because I need to expand my palate." Leo did air quotes with his fingers. "Your mom sounds smart." Noah glanced at Ava with a slight smile. "Tough, but smart." "She's a CEO, Leo said matter-of-factly. "She tells people they're fired on TV sometimes." Ava closed her eyes. "Leo." "What?" "You do. I saw it on YouTube. You told that guy he was no longer aligned with the company's vision, and everyone said it was savage." Noah's eyebrows rose slightly, but he didn't look uncomfortable. If anything, he looked amused. "I'm starting to think I'm underdressed for this dinner." "You're fine," Ava said quickly, then realized how that sounded. "I mean, you look fine." "Good. You look good. Appropriate." She wanted to crawl under the table. "I'm going to stop talking now." "Please don't." Noah's smile was genuine. "I've been sitting here for 15 minutes trying to remember how to act like a normal person. It's nice to know I'm not the only one." That admission, simple, honest, did something to Ava. It reminded her that she wasn't the only person at this table who was nervous. Noah Carter, whoever he was just as uncertain about this as she was. The waiter appeared, a young man with slicked back hair and an air of superiority that suggested he took his job very seriously. "Good evening. Can I start you with something to drink?" "Water for me," Ava said. "Same," Noah added. "Can I have Sprite?" Leo asked. The waiter's smile was tight. "We have San Pellegrino Limonata." Leo looked at Ava. "Is that Sprite?" "Close enough," Ava said. "Then yes, please." The waiter took their order with the enthusiasm of someone being asked to clean a public restroom and left. "He seems fun," Noah said dryly once the waiter was out of earshot. "He hates us," Leo said cheerfully. "Leo." Ava tried to sound stern, but it came out tired. "What?" "He does. Did you see how he looked at my sneakers, like I just stepped in something? Noah glanced under the table. Those are light-up shoes. Those are objectively cool shoes. He's just jealous his shoes don't light up. Leo grinned, and Ava felt that tightness in her chest loosen another notch. So, Noah said, setting down his menu, Rachel told me you two are a package deal, which I respect. She also told me absolutely nothing else about either of you except that Ava runs a company and Leo is 7, so I'm going in pretty blind here. What did she tell you to expect? Ava asked. She said, and I quote, my sister needs to remember what it's like to have a conversation with an adult male who isn't trying to acquire her company or marry her for tax purposes. Ava nearly choked on the water that had just been set in front of her. She did not say that. Word for word. Then she told me if I screwed this up, she'd never forgive me, which felt like a lot of pressure for a first date. Noah paused. This is a first date, right? I didn't misread the situation? It's a dinner, Ava said carefully. Let's call it a dinner. A dinner where two people who don't know each other sit across from each other and try to determine if they want to sit across from each other again, Noah said. That's basically a date. Technically, it's 3 people, Leo pointed out. Noah nodded. You're right. So it's a group dinner where 2 adults try to figure out if they're compatible while a 7-year-old judges their every move. I'm not judging, Leo said. I'm observing. That's worse, Noah said. Judging has an endpoint. Observing is forever. Leo laughed again, and Ava found herself studying Noah more carefully. There was something about the way he talked to her son, not down to him, not over him, just to him. Like Leo was a person whose opinion mattered. So what do you do? Ava asked, then immediately regretted it because it sounded like a job interview. I mean, Rachel said you're a teacher? 4th grade, Noah confirmed. Roosevelt Elementary, over in the Maple Leaf neighborhood. Been there about 6 years now. That's a good school, Ava said, because she'd researched every elementary school in Seattle when she was enrolling Leo. Strong academics, good arts program. It's a great school, Noah agreed. The principal actually cares, the teachers mostly like each other, and the kids are… He paused, searching for words. They're good kids. They're loud and weird, and sometimes they eat glue for no reason, but they're good. Do you like teaching? Leo asked. Most days, yeah. Noah leaned back in his chair. Some days I wonder what I was thinking. Like last week, I had a kid bring a live frog to class in his backpack. Not for show and tell, just because. And the frog escaped during a math lesson, and I spent 20 minutes trying to catch it while 24 4th graders screamed advice at me. Did you catch it? Eventually, but I learned that I'm not as fast as I used to be, and frogs are surprisingly strategic. Ava smiled despite herself. That sounds chaotic. It was, but also kind of great. The kids were so excited about that frog. They named him Robert. We kept him in a tank for a week before releasing him in the school garden. They learned more about amphibian habitats that week than they would have from any textbook. There was something in the way Noah talked about his students, a warmth, a genuine affection, that made Ava realize this wasn't just a job for him. This was what he loved. What about you? Noah asked, turning to Leo. What grade are you in? 2nd, but I'm reading at a 4th grade level. Leo said it matter-of-factly, without pride or shame, just information. That's impressive. What are you reading now? Percy Jackson. I'm on the 3rd book. Noah's face lit up. The Titan's Curse? That's a good one. Bianca breaks your heart, right? Leo's jaw dropped. You've read them? All of them. Twice. I teach 4th grade. Percy Jackson is basically required reading. Noah leaned forward conspiratorially. Between you and me, I think The Last Olympian is the best one. But The Titan's Curse has that scene with the skeleton warriors that's just… He made a chef's kiss gesture. And just like that, Leo was off. He started talking about Percy Jackson with the kind of enthusiasm usually reserved for Christmas morning. He talked about the characters, the mythology, the way the books made Greek myths feel real and exciting. Noah listened, really listened, asking questions, making comments, treating Leo's opinions like they mattered. Ava watched this interaction with a mixture of relief and something else she couldn't quite name. It had been so long since she'd seen Leo this animated around an adult who wasn't her or Rachel. Since the divorce, Leo had become quieter, more withdrawn. He was polite to adults but distant, like he'd learned not to trust them too much. But right now, talking to Noah about fictional demigods, he looked like a regular kid. Happy. Unguarded. The food came. Ava had ordered some kind of salmon that she wasn't really tasting. Leo had gotten the chicken piccata after all, and Noah had ordered pasta carbonara. They ate and talked, and slowly the conversation shifted from books to school to what Leo wanted to be when he grew up. Either a marine biologist or a professional video game player, to what Ava actually did at her company. So, you make software? Noah asked, trying to understand. We make enterprise resource planning solutions, Ava said, then caught herself. Sorry, that's corporate speak. Basically, we make software that helps big companies organize their data and operations. Inventory management, human resources, financial planning, all of it. That sounds complicated. It is, but it's also kind of like solving a giant puzzle. Every company has different needs, different problems. We figure out how to solve them. And you're good at it. It wasn't a question, but Ava answered anyway. Yes, I'm very good at it. She's being modest, Leo interjected. She won an award last year. They called her one of the most innovative CEOs under 40. It's on the wall in her office. Noah smiled. Sounds like you have a good publicist. My son, apparently. Ava shot Leo a look, but she was smiling. They were halfway through dinner when it happened. Leo reached for his water glass, the fancy San Pellegrino limonada in its green bottle, and misjudged the distance. His hand knocked into it hard, and the entire thing toppled over. Water and lemon soda cascaded across the white tablecloth, spreading in a rapidly growing puddle. It spilled over the edge, dripping onto the floor. The bottle rolled, clattering loudly before Noah caught it. The conversation around them stopped. Heads turned. The couple at the next table stared. The waiter, who had been passing by, paused with an expression that suggested this confirmed every terrible thought he'd had about them. Leo froze, his face going red. I'm sorry, I didn't mean... It's okay, Ava said quickly, reaching for napkins that were already soaked. It's fine, accidents happen, but she could feel the stares, could feel the judgment, the whispers starting up again, the single mother who can't even get through dinner without her kid making a scene. She felt her own face flush, that familiar heat of embarrassment and anger mixing together. This was a mistake. This whole thing was a mistake. She should have known better than to think she could do this. Noah moved. He didn't make a big deal of it. He just grabbed his own napkin, along with several from the empty chair next to him, and started calmly soaking up the spill. Not frantically, not with that tight-lipped frustration that Marcus used to get whenever Leo did something clumsy, just matter-of-factly. Like this was a completely normal thing that happened. You know what? Noah said, his voice conversational, like they were still just talking about books. This is nothing. One time I spilled an entire cup of coffee directly onto my laptop, in the middle of writing report cards. Lost 3 hours of work. Leo looked up, his eyes still wet but curious. What did you do? Panicked. Then spent the next 2 hours with my laptop upside down in a bag of rice like it was a wet phone. It didn't work, obviously. Rice fixes phones, not computers. I learned that the hard way. Noah kept dabbing at the water unbothered. Had to rewrite all those report cards from memory. And let me tell you, trying to remember which kid was showing improvement in math versus needs to focus during lessons when you're running on no sleep is basically impossible. Did you get them done? Leo asked, the panic in his voice fading. Eventually. Stayed up until 2 a.m, drank so much coffee I couldn't sleep anyway. Turned them in the next day, and my principal said they were the most detailed report cards she'd ever read. Noah shrugged. Sometimes mistakes turn into better things. The waiter appeared with a towel, his expression pained. I'll need to change the tablecloth. Of course, Noah said easily. We'll just move everything over to this side. He started shifting plates and glasses like this was a team exercise. Ava found herself helping, and Leo too, and within 2 minutes they were all crowded on one side of the table, while the waiter, still looking miserable, swapped out the cloth. The people who had been staring lost interest and went back to their own dinners. Crisis averted. Except Leo was still quiet, still picking at his chicken. Noah noticed. Of course he noticed. Hey, he said gently. You okay? Leo nodded but didn't look up. Can I tell you something? Noah waited until Leo met his eyes. I knock stuff over all the time. Ask my daughter. She'll tell you I'm basically a disaster in the kitchen. Last week I dropped an entire carton of eggs. Just whoosh! 12 eggs on the floor. The dog thought it was Christmas. You have a dog? Leo's interest sparked slightly. And a daughter, Lily. She's 8, and she's probably sitting at home right now telling our dog all about how her dad is out at a fancy restaurant trying not to embarrass himself. Noah smiled. Which I'm definitely doing, by the way. Embarrassing myself. Earlier, I almost ordered something with the wrong pronunciation. The waiter corrected me, and I wanted to sink through the floor. What word? Gnocchi. I said ganochi. It's gnocchi. Noah shook his head. Italian is not my strong suit. Leo smiled a little. Mom pronounces stuff wrong all the time. She says espresso instead of espresso. It's espresso, Ava protested weakly. It's not, Noah and Leo said in unison, then both laughed. And just like that, the tension broke. They finished dinner without any more incidents. Dessert came, tiramisu for Ava, gelato for Leo, and something chocolate for Noah. The conversation flowed easier now, like they'd gotten past some invisible barrier. Ava learned that Noah had lost his wife 4 years ago, cancer. He didn't say it with drama or looking for sympathy, just stated it as fact. The way you mention any other major life event. He'd been raising Lily on his own since then, teaching full-time and somehow managing to keep a household running. I'm not great at it, Noah admitted. The house is always kind of a mess. Lily eats cereal for dinner more often than I'd like to admit. But we're figuring it out. That's all anyone can do, Ava said quietly. Figure it out. There was a moment where their eyes met across the table, and Ava felt something pass between them. Recognition, maybe. Two people who'd had their lives explode in different ways and were trying to build something new from the pieces. Leo, for his part, had demolished his gelato and was now eyeing Noah's chocolate cake with interest. You want some? Noah pushed the plate toward him without being asked. Mom says I shouldn't eat other people's food without asking, Leo said, but his fork was already moving. I'm offering, Noah pointed out. That's different. They shared the cake, and Ava watched her son laugh at something Noah said, and she thought, maybe this doesn't have to be complicated. Maybe it can just be this. Easy, simple, real. The restaurant was starting to empty out when they finally asked for the check. Ava reached for her purse automatically. She always paid, it was easier that way. But Noah was already handing his card to the waiter. You don't have to do that, Ava said. I know, but I asked you to dinner, sort of, so I'm paying. Noah's tone was firm, but not aggressive. You can get the next one? Next one. The words hung in the air between them. If there is a next one, Noah added quickly. No pressure, I just meant, if you wanted, I want, Ava said, and was surprised by how much she meant it. They walked out together into the cool Seattle evening. The city was alive around them. Cars passing, people laughing, the distant sound of music from somewhere down the street. Leo walked between them, his hand in Ava's, unusually quiet. Thank you for tonight, Noah said when they reached Ava's car. I had a really good time. So did I. Ava unlocked the car, then paused. Leo? What do you say? Leo looked up at Noah seriously. Thank you for dinner, and for the cake, and for not being weird when I spilled my drink. Noah crouched down to Leo's level. Not in that exaggerated way, just naturally, like it was the normal thing to do. Hey, anytime, and for the record, you're a pretty cool kid. Your mom's lucky to have you. Something in Leo's expression shifted. He didn't say anything, just nodded and climbed into the car. Ava and Noah stood there for another moment. So, Noah said, next time? Next time, Ava agreed. Maybe without the fancy restaurant? I'm thinking somewhere where spilling things is expected. Like where? I don't know. Bowling? Mini golf? Somewhere where being clumsy is part of the experience. Ava smiled. That sounds perfect. They exchanged numbers, made vague plans to text. Did that awkward thing where neither of them knew if they should hug or shake hands or just wave, and ended up doing a weird combination of all three. And then Ava was in her car, pulling away from the curb, watching Noah in the rearview mirror as he walked toward his own vehicle. Did you like him? She asked Leo. Leo was quiet for a long moment, staring out the window at the passing lights. Then, he's okay. Coming from Leo, that was basically a glowing review. Ava drove home through the Seattle streets, and for the first time in a long time, she felt something that might have been hope. Not the confident, controlled hope of a business deal going right. Something smaller and more fragile. The hope that maybe, just maybe, this could work. She didn't know yet that Noah was sitting in his own car, texting his daughter that the dinner went well. She didn't know that he was already looking forward to seeing her again, that he'd gone home and told Lily all about the woman who ran a billion-dollar company and her son who read Percy Jackson and knocked over drinks. She didn't know any of that yet, but she would, because this, whatever this was just beginning. The second text came 3 days later, on Sunday afternoon, while Ava was reviewing quarterly reports in her home office. Leo was in the living room, supposedly doing homework, but probably watching videos on his tablet. "Hey, Lily and I are heading to the Science Museum. Leo mentioned he's never been. Want to join?" Ava read it twice, her finger hovering over the keyboard. The smart move would be to decline. Keep things slow. She'd built her entire life on calculated decisions, measured risks, strategic planning. Jumping into something with a man she'd met once, bringing Leo along, letting him get attached, that wasn't smart. She typed back anyway. "What time? 2 o'clock? We can meet at the entrance." Ava glanced at the clock. It was 12:30. She had 90 minutes to finish this report, get Leo ready, and talk herself out of the anxiety crawling up her spine. "See you there," she sent. She found Leo in the living room, sprawled across the couch, his tablet balanced on his stomach. "Hey, want to go to the Science Museum?" Leo looked up, suspicious. "Why?" "Because Noah and his daughter are going, and he invited us." Leo sat up fast enough that his tablet slid onto the floor. "Really? Really? Can we see the planetarium?" "We can see whatever you want." Leo scrambled off the couch, already halfway to his room before Ava could say anything else. She heard him rummaging through his closet, probably looking for his space shirt, the one with the constellations that he wore until it fell apart. Ava went back upstairs, changed out of her work clothes into jeans and a sweater, pulled her hair into a ponytail. She stared at herself in the mirror and wondered when she'd started caring what she looked like for a museum trip. They arrived at the Oregon Museum of Science and Industry at 5 minutes to 2. The parking lot was packed, families everywhere, kids running ahead of exhausted parents, strollers clogging the sidewalks. Ava held Leo's hand tighter than necessary as they walked toward the entrance. Noah was already there, standing near the ticket booth, with a little girl who had to be Lily. She had dark curly hair pulled into 2 puffs on either side of her head, wearing overalls and light-up sneakers. When she saw them approaching, she grabbed Noah's hand and whispered something Ava couldn't hear. Noah spotted them and smiled. Not the polished, professional smile Ava was used to seeing in boardrooms, but something real, something that reached his eyes. "You made it," he said. "Traffic wasn't bad." Ava looked down at Lily, who was half hiding behind Noah's leg. "You must be Lily." Lily nodded, but didn't say anything. "This is Leo," Noah said gently. "Remember I told you about him?" "He likes Jupiter," Lily said quietly. Leo grinned. "And you like Mars." That broke the ice. Within seconds, they were talking over each other about rovers and terraforming, and whether humans would ever actually live on another planet. Noah caught Ava's eye, and they shared a look. Half relief, half amusement. "Should we head in?" Noah asked. They bought tickets. Ava tried to pay for all of them, but Noah had already handed over his card before she could argue, and stepped into the chaos of the museum. It was loud, crowded, full of kids screaming and touching everything. Ava's instinct was to retreat, to find the quietest corner and wait it out. But Leo was already pulling her toward the first exhibit, and Noah was right there beside them, Lily's hand in his, and somehow it didn't feel overwhelming. It felt normal. They spent the first hour in the Earth Science Hall, where Leo and Lily took turns pressing buttons and watching videos about earthquakes and volcanoes. Noah stood next to Ava, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. "This place is insane on weekends," he said. "You come here a lot?" "Every few months. Lily loves it. I usually leave with a headache, but it's worth it." Ava watched as Leo explained something about tectonic plates to Lily, his hands gesturing wildly. "He's different today." "Different how?" "More himself." Noah glanced at her. "Is that a good thing?" "Yeah, it is." They moved through the museum slowly, stopping at every exhibit, letting the kids dictate the pace. At one point, they ended up in the chemistry lab, where a staff member was demonstrating liquid nitrogen. Leo watched, mesmerized, as the scientist dipped a rubber ball into the nitrogen and then shattered it with a hammer. Cool, Leo breathed. Very cool, Noah agreed. Then to Ava, did you ever do science experiments as a kid? Not really, I was more into computers. That tracks. What's that supposed to mean? Noah shrugged. You just seem like someone who figured out early that logic solves problems. Ava didn't know how to respond to that, so she didn't. They stood there, watching the demonstration, and she tried not to think about how right he was. After the chemistry lab, they grabbed food from the museum cafe, overpriced sandwiches and chips that tasted like cardboard. They found a table near the windows overlooking the Willamette River. Leo and Lily sat together on one side, already deep in conversation about black holes. Noah and Ava sat across from them. So, Noah said, unwrapping his sandwich, Rachel mentioned you run a tech company. I do. What kind of tech? Ava hesitated. Most people, when they found out what she did, either got weirdly intimidated or started pitching ideas. But Noah just looked curious. Software solutions for healthcare systems, electronic records, patient management, that kind of thing. Sounds complicated. It is. You like it? No one ever asked her that. They asked if it was profitable, if it was growing, if she was planning to go public. But they never asked if she actually liked it. Most days, she said honestly. Some days I want to burn it all down and start over. Noah laughed. I feel that. Teaching was like that. Some days you change a kid's life. Other days, you're just trying not to get a stapler thrown at your head. Did that actually happen? Twice. Ava found herself smiling despite herself. Why'd you stop? Noah's expression shifted just slightly. After my wife died, I needed something with more flexibility. Lily was 5 and she was struggling. Daycare wasn't cutting it. I couldn't keep leaving her with babysitters while I worked late grading papers. He took a bite of his sandwich, chewed slowly. So I quit. Started freelancing. It's boring as hell, but I can do it from home. That must have been hard, giving up something you loved. You do what you have to do. Ava understood that more than she wanted to admit. She'd given up a lot to build her company, to be there for Leo, to prove to everyone, including herself, that she could do it alone. Across the table, Lily was showing Leo something on her phone, a video of a Mars rover, judging by the excited commentary. They were leaning so close their heads almost touched. They get along, Ava said. Noah followed her gaze. Yeah, Lily doesn't usually warm up to people this fast. Neither does Leo. They finished eating in comfortable silence. Then Noah checked his watch. Planetarium show starts in 20 minutes. You guys want to catch it? Leo's head snapped up. Yes! They made their way to the planetarium, joining the line of families waiting to get in. The theater was designed to look like the inside of a spaceship, with curved walls and seats that reclined. Leo chose seats near the front, and they all settled in, Lily and Leo in the middle, Noah and Ava on either side. The lights dimmed. Stars appeared on the dome ceiling, thousands of them, swirling in constellations Ava couldn't name. A narrator's voice filled the theater, calm and deep, explaining the origins of the universe. Ava glanced over at Leo. He was completely still, his face tilted up, eyes wide. She'd seen him happy before, unwrapping presents on his birthday, finishing a Lego set, eating ice cream on hot summer days. But this was different. This was wonder. Next to her, Noah was watching Lily, who had the same expression. And for a moment, Ava forgot about the divorce, the company, the constant weight of responsibility. She just sat there in the dark, surrounded by fake stars, and let herself breathe. When the show ended and the lights came back on, Leo turned to her with a grin so wide it hurt to look at. That was amazing. It was pretty cool, Ava agreed. They filed out with the rest of the crowd, back into the noise and chaos of the museum. Outside, the sun was starting to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. We should probably head out, Ava said, though she didn't really want to. Yeah, same, Noah said. Then, to Leo and Lily, you guys have fun? Yes, they both said at the same time, then looked at each other and laughed. In the parking lot, they stopped near Ava's car. Lily hugged Leo goodbye, a quick, awkward thing that made both of them turn red. Noah shook Ava's hand, which felt absurdly formal after spending 3 hours together. "Thanks for coming," he said. "Thanks for inviting us. Maybe we could do it again sometime. There's a farmer's market next Saturday. Lily loves it. Lots of dogs, fresh donuts, that kind of thing." Ava should have said she'd check her schedule. Should have kept it vague, non-committal. Instead, she heard herself say, "We'd love to." Noah's smile was worth it. On the drive home, Leo was quiet for a long time. Then, "Mom? Yeah? Do you like Noah?" Ava's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "I think he's nice. But do you like him? Like him?" She glanced in the rearview mirror. Leo was watching her with those two smart eyes, the ones that saw everything. "I don't know yet," she said carefully, "but I like spending time with him, and I like that you like him." Leo nodded, satisfied. "Lily's cool too." "She is. Do you think we'll see them again?" "Yeah, buddy, I think we will." The farmer's market. The following Saturday was exactly what Noah had promised: crowded, chaotic, and full of dogs. Leo spotted at least 15 within the first 10 minutes and insisted on petting every single one. Lily joined him, the two of them running from booth to booth, leaving Ava and Noah to trail behind. "They're going to crash hard later," Noah said, watching them dart toward a golden retriever. "Worth it," Ava said. They wandered through the market, stopping at stalls selling everything from handmade soap to fresh flowers. Noah bought a bag of kettle corn and offered it to Ava. She took a handful, even though she normally avoided sugar. "This is good," she admitted. "Right? There's a guy who makes it fresh every week. Lily and I are basically keeping him in business." They stopped at a booth selling plants. Ava found herself staring at a small succulent in a ceramic pot. "You like plants?" Noah asked. "I kill everything I try to grow." "Same. Lily got me a cactus for Father's Day last year. It lasted 3 weeks. "How do you kill a cactus?" "Overwatering. Turns out neglect is actually the way to go." Ava laughed, surprising herself. She didn't laugh a lot these days, didn't have time for it. They found Leo and Lily at a booth selling fresh donuts. The kids were already covered in powdered sugar, looking guilty and delighted in equal measure. "We didn't buy anything," Leo said quickly. The woman running the booth smiled. "They were sampling, very thoroughly." Ava pulled out her wallet. "We'll take 6, assorted." They ate the donuts sitting on a bench near the edge of the market, watching people stream past. Leo and Lily sat on the ground, sharing a chocolate-frosted one and arguing about whether strawberry or blueberry was better. Noah sat next to Ava, close enough that their knees touched. "This is nice," he said quietly. "It is. I wasn't sure, after the museum, if you'd actually want to do this again." Ava looked at him. "Why wouldn't I?" Noah shrugged. "You're busy, successful. You could probably be doing 100 other things right now." "I could. But I'm here." He met her eyes, and something passed between them, something Ava didn't have words for yet, but felt deep in her chest. Before she could say anything else, Leo ran up, out of breath. "Mom, can we go see the puppies? There's a rescue booth over there." "Sure." They spent the next hour at the rescue booth, watching puppies tumble over each other in a playpen. Lily fell in love with the scrappy terrier mix, and Leo was obsessed with a basset hound that looked permanently sad. "Can we get one?" Leo asked, looking up at Ava with those eyes that had gotten him everything from extra dessert to later bedtimes. "Not today. But we'll talk about it." Noah caught her eye and mouthed, "Good luck." By the time they left the market, it was almost noon. The kids were exhausted, sugar-crashed, and dragging their feet. Ava's phone had buzzed at least 10 times with work emails, but she hadn't checked it once. They walked back to the parking lot together. Noah's car was parked 2 rows over from Ava's. "Same time next week?" he asked. Ava wanted to say yes. Wanted to keep doing this, these easy, unplanned days where nothing mattered except Leo's laughter and Noah's quiet presence. But reality was waiting, board meetings and investor calls, and the constant pressure to prove she deserved everything she'd built. "I'll text you," she said instead. Noah nodded, understanding in his eyes. No pressure. But it felt like pressure. The good kind. That night, after Leo was asleep, Ava sat in her office and stared at her phone. She'd promised herself she'd keep things slow, careful, not rush into anything that could hurt Leo if it fell apart. But when Noah's text came through, just a simple, "had a great time today," she didn't hesitate. "Me too. Let's do it again soon." His reply was immediate. "How about dinner at my place next Friday? Nothing fancy, just the four of us." Ava's first instinct was to say no. Dinner at his place felt too intimate, too real. Restaurants were safe, neutral territory. His home was something else entirely. But Leo deserved this. Deserved to see what normal looked like, what stability felt like. "Sounds good. What can I bring? Just yourselves?" The week crawled by. Ava buried herself in work, trying not to think about Friday night, trying not to count down the days like some lovesick teenager. But Leo reminded her every morning at breakfast. 5 more days. 4 more days. 3 more days. By the time Friday arrived, Ava was a mess of nerves she refused to acknowledge. She changed clothes 3 times, settled on jeans and a blouse that was casual but not sloppy. Leo wore his space shirt, obviously. Noah's house was in southeast Portland, a small bungalow with a front porch and flower boxes that had seen better days. The paint was chipping in places, and the lawn needed mowing, but it looked lived in. Loved. Ava parked on the street and took a deep breath. "You okay, Mom?" Leo asked. "Yeah, I'm good." They walked up the porch steps, and before Ava could knock, the door swung open. Lily stood there grinning. "You're here." Noah appeared behind her, dish towel over his shoulder. "Come in. Sorry about the mess." The inside of the house was cluttered in the way homes with kids always were. Shoes by the door, backpacks hanging on hooks, drawings taped to the fridge. But it was clean, warm. It smelled like garlic and tomatoes. "I'm making spaghetti," Noah said. "Hope that's okay." "That's perfect," Ava said. Leo and Lily disappeared into Lily's room almost immediately. Ava could hear them talking, the sound muffled through the walls. "Can I help with anything?" Ava asked. "You can keep me company." She followed Noah into the kitchen. It was small, barely enough room for 2 people, but he moved through it with ease. Ava leaned against the counter and watched him stir the sauce, add seasoning, taste it from the spoon. "You cook a lot?" she asked. "Every night. Lily's picky, so I've gotten good at making things she'll actually eat." "What is she like?" "Pasta, mostly. Grilled cheese. Anything with cheese, really." He glanced at her. "What about Leo?" "Same. Carbs and cheese, sometimes chicken nuggets if I'm lucky." Noah laughed. "Sounds about right." They fell into an easy rhythm. Noah cooking, Ava setting the table, the kids running in and out to show them things they'd found in Lily's room. It felt domestic in a way that should have scared Ava but didn't. Dinner was loud and messy. Lily spilled her milk. Leo reassured her it was fine, that he'd done the same thing. And Noah told a story about the time he accidentally set off the fire alarm making toast. Leo laughed so hard he almost choked on his spaghetti. Ava sat back and watched it all unfold, this strange, imperfect version of family she'd never thought she'd have again. After dinner, they moved to the living room. The kids played some game on Lily's tablet while Noah and Ava sat on the couch, a comfortable distance between them. "Thanks for having us," Ava said. "Thanks for coming." "This is nice. You're home." Noah looked around like he was seeing it for the first time. "It's small, and it needs work, but it's ours." Ava thought about her own house. Huge, expensive, impressive, and lonely. "I like it," she said. They talked until the kids fell asleep on the floor, curled up together like puppies. Noah carried Lily to her room, and Ava gently shook Leo awake. "Time to go, buddy." Leo mumbled something incoherent but let her lead him to the car. Noah walked them out, standing on the porch as Ava buckled Leo into the back seat. "Drive safe," he said. "I will." She hesitated, one hand on the car door. There was something she wanted to say, something building in her chest, but she didn't know how to put it into words. Noah saved her. "Ava?" "Yeah?" "I really like spending time with you." Her heart did that stupid thing again. "I really like spending time with you too." "Good." He smiled. "Text me when you get home." "I will." And she did. And he responded. And somehow, without either of them planning it, this became their routine. 3 weeks turned into 6, and 6 turned into 2 months. And suddenly, Ava couldn't remember what her life had looked like before Noah and Lily became part of it. The 4 of them fell into patterns without discussing it. Saturday mornings at the farmer's market, Sunday afternoons at parks or museums, weeknight dinners that alternated between Noah's small kitchen and Ava's sprawling dining room that finally felt less empty. But patterns had a way of revealing cracks, and Ava felt the first one on a Tuesday evening in late October. She was running late leaving the office, stuck in a conference call that should have ended an hour ago, but kept circling back to the same arguments. Her CFO wanted to cut the development budget. The board wanted faster growth. Everyone wanted something, and Ava was tired of being the person who had to figure out how to give it to them. By the time she pulled into her driveway, it was almost 8. She'd promised Leo she'd be home for dinner, promised they'd work on his science project together. Another broken promise in a long line of them. She found him in the living room, homework spread across the coffee table, his face tight with frustration. "Hey, buddy, I'm sorry I'm late." Leo didn't look up. "It's fine." "It's not fine. I said I'd be here." "You always say that." The words hit harder than they should have. Ava set her bag down, tried to find the right response, but Leo was already gathering his papers. "I'm going to bed." "Leo, it's only 8, and we haven't eaten." "I'm not hungry." He walked past her, and Ava didn't stop him. She stood there in her empty living room, still wearing her work clothes, and felt the weight of every choice she'd made crushing down on her shoulders. Her phone buzzed. A text from Noah. "Hey, know you had a late meeting. We made extra lasagna if you and Leo want to come by." Ava stared at the message. The smart thing would be to decline, to give Leo space, to deal with this herself like she always did. But she was tired of being smart, tired of doing everything alone. "We'll be there in 20 minutes, she typed. She went upstairs, knocked on Leo's door. "Get your shoes, we're going to Noah's." "I said I'm not hungry." "I don't care, get your shoes." There was a long pause, then shuffling sounds. Leo appeared, scowling but wearing his sneakers. They drove in silence. Ava kept glancing at him in the rearview mirror, trying to find words that didn't sound like excuses. She'd built an entire company on her ability to communicate, to negotiate, to convince. But with her own son, she had nothing. Noah's porch light was on when they arrived. Before Ava could knock, the door opened. Lily stood there in pajamas covered in cartoon planets. "Leo, we saved you the corner piece. It has extra cheese." Leo's scowl cracked just a little. "Really? Come on." The kids disappeared inside. Noah appeared in the doorway, took one look at Ava's face, and stepped aside without a word. The kitchen smelled like garlic and oregano. There were dishes in the sink, homework scattered across the table, signs of life everywhere. Noah pulled out a chair for her. "Sit, I'll heat up the food." Ava sat. She watched Noah move around his kitchen, watched him plate lasagna and pour milk for the kids, watched him do all the small, ordinary things she was supposed to be doing but somehow kept failing at. "Rough day?" he asked quietly. "Long day." "Those are usually the same thing." He set a plate in front of her. The lasagna was homemade, the kind that took hours, the kind Ava never had time to make. "You didn't have to do this," she said. "I wanted to." In the living room, Leo and Lily were already eating, some animated movie playing on the TV. Leo was laughing at something Lily said. The tension from earlier completely gone. Ava picked up her fork, took a bite. It was good. Really good. "Thank you," she said, and meant it for more than just the food. They ate in comfortable silence for a while. Then Noah said, "You want to talk about it?" "Not really." "Okay." And that was it. No pushing, no demands for explanation, just acceptance. Ava set down her fork. "I'm failing him." Noah looked at her. "Who? Leo?" "I keep making promises I can't keep choosing work over him. And I know it's not sustainable. I know something has to change, but I don't know how to do both. Be the CEO everyone needs and the mother he deserves. You're not failing him. You didn't see his face tonight when I walked in late. Again." Noah leaned back in his chair. "Can I tell you something?" "Sure." The first year after Sarah died, I was a disaster. Lily would ask me for help with homework, and I'd snap at her because I was too tired. She'd want me to play, and I'd say I was busy, then spend the next 2 hours staring at the wall. I missed parent-teacher conferences. Forgot to pack her lunch. Once, I sent her to school in pajamas because I didn't notice she hadn't changed. Ava looked at him. "You?" "Me." And you know what Lily said to me one day? She said, "Daddy, I know you're sad, but I'm still here." She was 5 years old, and she had to remind me she existed. What did you do? I cried for about an hour. Then I quit my job and figured out how to actually be present. He met her eyes. I'm not saying you need to quit, but I am saying that Leo knows you love him. One late night isn't going to undo that. It's not just one night. Then change it. You're Ava Sterling. If anyone can figure out how to rewrite the rules, it's you. Ava wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe she could have both, the company she'd built and the life she was starting to want. But wanting something didn't make it possible. Before she could respond, Leo appeared in the doorway. Mom, can I sleep over? Lily has the new space documentary, and her dad said it's okay if you say yes. Ava looked at Noah, who shrugged. It's fine with me. They'll crash before the documentary even ends. Every instinct told Ava to say no. To take Leo home, to maintain boundaries, to not let this thing with Noah become so comfortable that the inevitable collapse would hurt worse. But Leo was looking at her with hope instead of resentment, and that was worth something. Okay, but just tonight. Yes! Leo ran back to the living room. Ava stood up. I should go. Let you guys have your evening. You could stay, Noah said. Watch the documentary with them. It's actually pretty good. Ava hesitated. She had emails to answer, reports to review, a dozen things she should be doing. But Noah was looking at her with those steady eyes, and the living room was warm, and she was so tired of being alone in her big empty house. Okay, she said, just for a little while. They ended up on the couch, kids on the floor with blankets and pillows, the documentary narrator droning on about the formation of galaxies. Leo and Lily made it about 40 minutes before they were both asleep, curled up together like they'd been siblings their whole lives. Noah muted the TV. The house went quiet except for the sound of the kids breathing. This is nice, Ava said softly. Yeah, it is. They sat there in the semi-darkness, not touching but close enough that Ava could feel the warmth of him next to her. Can I ask you something? Noah said after a while. Sure. What are we doing here? Ava's chest tightened. What do you mean? I mean, we've been doing this for 2 months, these dinners, these outings, and it's been great. But I need to know if this is going somewhere, or if we're just two single parents helping each other out. Ava looked at the sleeping kids, at this makeshift family they'd accidentally created. I don't know, she said honestly. I haven't thought that far ahead. Do you want to? Did she? Ava had spent 3 years building walls, protecting herself and Leo from anyone who might hurt them again. Noah had slipped past those walls without her noticing, and now she didn't know how to push him back out without destroying something that felt too important to lose. I'm scared, she admitted, of getting this wrong, of letting Leo get attached and then having it fall apart. He's already attached. So is Lily. I know. And so am I, Noah said quietly. Ava turned to look at him. In the dim light from the TV, his face was serious, vulnerable in a way she'd never seen before. I'm attached too, she whispered. Noah reached over, took her hand. His palm was warm, calloused, real. Then let's stop pretending this is casual. Let's actually try. Ava's throat felt tight. What if I can't be what you need? What if I'm too busy, too broken, too... You're not broken, you're just careful. And I get that. But Ava, I'm not your ex-husband. I'm not going to leave the first time things get hard. How do you know? People always leave. Because I already lost the person I thought I'd spend my life with. I know what that feels like. And I know I don't want to lose this without even trying. Ava felt something break open inside her, something she'd kept locked down for so long she'd forgotten it was there. Okay. Okay? Let's try. For real. Noah smiled, and it was the kind of smile that made Ava believe maybe, just maybe, she could have this. Could have him. They sat there until late, talking about nothing and everything, until Ava finally forced herself to stand up and gather her things. I should go. Let you get some sleep. Noah walked her to the door. On the porch, under the yellow glow of the light, he caught her hand again. Text me when you get home? Always do. He leaned in, and for a second Ava thought he might kiss her, but he just pressed his lips to her forehead, gentle and deliberate, and somehow that felt more intimate than anything else. Good night, Ava. Good night, Noah. She drove home with her heart doing strange things in her chest, with hope blooming where cynicism used to live, with the terrifying realization that she was falling for this man and there was no going back. The next few weeks were easier. Ava started leaving work on time more often, started saying no to late meetings, started prioritizing Leo in ways she hadn't managed before. It wasn't perfect. She still had bad days, still snapped at him when she was stressed, still felt the constant pull between the life she'd built and the life she wanted. But Noah was patient, steady, always there when she needed him without making her feel weak for needing. They went on actual dates, dinner at restaurants without the kids, a movie on a random Tuesday, a walk through the Japanese garden on a Sunday morning. And slowly, carefully, Ava let herself believe this might actually work. Then November came, and everything got complicated. It started with a text from her ex-husband Marcus, the first direct communication they'd had in over a year. His lawyer usually handled everything, but this message came straight from him. Need to talk about Leo. Call me. Ava stared at the message for a full minute before responding. What about Leo? Not doing this over text. Call me. She did, standing in her office with the door closed, bracing herself for whatever was coming. Marcus answered on the second ring. Ava? What do you want? Nice to hear from you too. You said you needed to talk about Leo, so talk. There was a pause, the sound of Marcus sighing the way he always did when he was about to say something she wouldn't like. I'm getting remarried. Ava felt the floor shift under her feet. Congratulations. And I want more custody, every other week instead of every other weekend. No. Ava, he's my son too. You left. You walked out on us. Disappeared for a year and now you suddenly want to play dad? I made mistakes. I'm trying to fix them. You don't get to fix this. Leo's finally stable, finally happy. I'm not going to let you upend his life because you feel guilty. This isn't about guilt. Rebecca and I don't care about Rebecca. I care about Leo. So do I. Ava laughed, bitter and sharp. You have a funny way of showing it. How many of his soccer games have you been to this year? How many parent-teacher conferences? Silence. That's what I thought, Ava said. I can take this to court. Then do it. My lawyers will bury you. She hung up before he could respond, her hands shaking with rage she hadn't felt in years. Marcus had walked away from their family like it meant nothing, and now he wanted back in? Now, when Leo was finally learning to trust again, finally opening up? Not a chance. She tried to bury herself in work, but her mind kept circling back to the conversation. By the time she got home, she was wound so tight she could barely breathe. Leo was at the kitchen table doing homework. He looked up when she walked in. Hey, Mom. Hey. Ava forced a smile. How was school? Good. We started learning about fractions. That's great. Leo watched her carefully. Are you okay? I'm fine. Just tired. But she wasn't fine, and Leo knew it. He'd always been too perceptive, too good at reading her moods. Her phone rang. Noah's name on the screen. I need to take this, she told Leo, stepping into the other room. Hey, Noah said when she answered. Bad time? Kind of. What's wrong? Ava closed her eyes. Marcus called. He wants more custody. Noah was quiet for a moment. What did you tell him? I told him no, but he's threatening to take it to court. Can he do that? He can try, but I have better lawyers. Ava, I can't talk about this right now. I need to think. Okay, but if you need anything, I know. Thank you. She hung up and stood there in the hallway, trying to pull herself together. Through the doorway, she could see Leo bent over his homework, chewing on his pencil the way he always did when he was concentrating. She'd built her entire life around protecting him, keeping him safe, keeping him happy, making sure he never had to go through what she'd gone through as a kid, the divorce, the instability, the constant feeling of not being enough. And now Marcus wanted to waltz back in and destroy all of that, over her dead body. The weeks that followed were tense. Marcus's lawyer sent letters. Ava's lawyer sent letters back. Meetings were scheduled, canceled, rescheduled. Leo started asking questions she didn't know how to answer. Is Dad coming to Thanksgiving? I don't know, buddy. Does he want to see me more? We're working on it. Do you want him to see me more? That one stopped her cold, because the truth was complicated, messy, not appropriate for a 7-year-old. The truth was that Ava wanted Leo to have a relationship with his father, wanted him to feel loved and wanted by both parents, But she also wanted to protect him from the man who'd abandoned them, who'd chosen his own happiness over his family's stability. "I want what's best for you," she said finally. "Always." Leo seemed to accept that, but Ava could see the worry in his eyes, could see him pulling back, retreating into himself the way he had right after the divorce. Noah noticed too. On a Saturday morning at the farmer's market, while the kids were looking at pumpkins, he pulled Ava aside. "He's struggling." "I know. Have you talked to him about what's going on?" "I don't know what to say. How do I explain that his father suddenly wants him back without making it sound like he didn't want him before?" Noah was quiet for a moment. "You tell him the truth, that relationships are complicated, that adults make mistakes, that none of this is his fault. That's what therapists say. I need something that actually works." "Ava." Noah's voice was gentle but firm. "You can't control this. You can't protect him from everything. Watch me." She regretted the words as soon as they left her mouth. Noah's expression shifted, something between hurt and frustration. "That's not fair," he said quietly. "I know. I'm sorry. I just—" Ava pressed her hands to her face. "I don't know what to do." Noah put his hand on her shoulder. "You don't have to do it alone." But Ava had been alone for so long, she didn't know how to be anything else. The confrontation came 2 weeks before Thanksgiving at a coffee shop downtown. Marcus had insisted on meeting in person. No lawyers, just the two of them. Ava agreed only because she wanted to look him in the eye when she told him exactly what she thought of his plan. She arrived early, ordered a coffee she wouldn't drink, and took a table near the back. Marcus showed up 10 minutes late, looking exactly like she remembered. Tall, handsome in that polished way, wearing a suit that probably cost more than Noah's monthly rent. He sat down across from her without ordering anything. "Thanks for meeting me." "Let's just get this over with," Ava said. Marcus leaned back in his chair. "I know you're angry." "I'm not angry. I'm protective." "Of Leo or of yourself?" Ava's jaw tightened. "What's that supposed to mean?" "You've always had trouble letting go of control. Even when we were married, you needed everything to go your way. That's rich, coming from the man who walked out because I worked too much. I walked out because you cared more about your company than your family." The words hit like a slap. Ava forced herself to stay calm, to not give him the satisfaction of seeing her flinch. "I cared about providing for our family, about building something stable. You cared about your secretary." Marcus had the decency to look ashamed. "That was a mistake. It was a choice, just like this is a choice. You don't get to disappear for a year and then demand equal custody. I'm not demanding, I'm asking. And I'm saying no." Marcus leaned forward, his expression hardening. "I will take this to court if I have to. Then we'll see you there." She stood up to leave, but Marcus caught her wrist. "Ava, wait." She looked down at his hand on her arm, then back at his face. "Let go." He did, immediately. "I'm trying to make this right." "You can't. Some things, once you break them, stay broken." "I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about Leo." "So am I." Ava walked out before he could say anything else. She made it to her car before the shaking started, before the tears she'd been holding back finally broke through. She sat there in the parking lot, gripping the steering wheel, trying to remember how to breathe. Her phone buzzed. A text from Noah. "How'd it go?" Ava stared at the message. She could lie, say it was fine, handle this the way she handled everything else. Alone. Or she could be honest, let someone in, take the risk. "Can I come over?" she typed back. Of course, doors unlocked. She drove to Noah's house in a daze, barely remembering the route. When she walked in, he was in the kitchen making grilled cheese sandwiches. The kids were in the living room watching a movie. Noah took one look at her face and set down the spatula. "Come here." Ava went to him, and when he wrapped his arms around her, she finally let herself fall apart. She cried into his shoulder, ugly and messy, years of holding everything together finally cracking open. Noah didn't say anything, just held her, steady and solid, until the tears slowed and her breathing evened out. "Sorry," she mumbled against his shirt. "Don't be." She pulled back, wiping her eyes. "I'm a mess." "You're human." In the living room, Leo and Lily were laughing at something on the TV, oblivious to the adult drama unfolding in the kitchen. "He won't back down," Ava said quietly. "Marcus, he's going to push this. Then you fight, and I'll be right here. Ava looked at him, at this man who'd somehow become her anchor without her realizing it. Why are you so good to me? Noah smiled. Because you're worth it. And for the first time in weeks, Ava believed him. The court date was set for mid-December, which meant Thanksgiving arrived under a cloud of anxiety Ava couldn't shake. She'd planned to host at her house, something small, just her and Leo, but Noah had other ideas. Come to ours, he said over the phone 3 days before the holiday. It'll be good for the kids. Good for you. I don't want to impose. You're not imposing. I'm inviting you. Ava hesitated. Thanksgiving had always been difficult since the divorce. Too much time to think, too many memories of what used to be. But the idea of spending it with Noah and Lily, of having noise and laughter instead of silence, was tempting. Okay, she said finally, but I'm bringing dessert. Deal. She showed up Thursday afternoon with 2 pies, pumpkin and apple, that she'd actually baked herself at 3 a.m. when she couldn't sleep. Leo carried the apple pie like it was made of glass, terrified he'd drop it. Lily opened the door wearing a paper turkey hat she'd made at school. Happy Thanksgiving! Happy Thanksgiving, Leo said, grinning at the hat. Inside, the house smelled like roasting turkey and sage. Noah was in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, hair disheveled, looking frazzled in a way that made Ava's chest warm. Crisis mode? She asked. The potatoes boiled over, the gravy's lumpy, and I forgot to buy cranberry sauce. He looked at her. So yeah, pretty much. I can run to the store. No, absolutely not. You're a guest. He pointed at the living room. Go sit, watch football. Relax. I don't watch football. Then watch the kids destroy my living room. Just don't help. Ava smiled despite herself. That's not really my strong suit. I know. That's why I'm telling you. She compromised by setting the table while Noah finished cooking. The kids were in the backyard running around with a soccer ball, even though it was cold enough to see their breath. Through the window, Ava watched Leo chase Lily, both of them laughing, and felt something settle in her chest. They're good together, Noah said, appearing beside her with plates. They are. How's he doing with everything going on? Ava set down a fork. He's worried. Keeps asking if he has to go live with his dad. What do you tell him? That I won't let that happen. Noah was quiet for a moment. You know you might not be able to control that, right? I can try. Ava, I don't want to talk about this today. Please. He nodded, understanding. Fair enough. Dinner was chaotic and perfect. The turkey was slightly dry, the gravy was definitely lumpy, and nobody cared. Leo and Lily argued about who got the bigger piece of pumpkin pie. Noah told a story about the time he tried to deep fry a turkey and nearly burned down his parents' garage. Ava laughed until her sides hurt. For a few hours, she forgot about the court date, the lawyers, the constant knot of anxiety in her stomach. She just sat at Noah's secondhand dining table, eating mediocre food and watching her son be happy, and it was enough. After dinner, while the kids played board games in the living room, Noah and Ava did dishes. He washed, she dried, the rhythm familiar and comfortable. Thank you, Ava said quietly. For this. You don't have to thank me. I do. You didn't have to invite us. Noah handed her a plate. Ava, you're not just some person I invited out of obligation. You're... He stopped, like he was trying to find the right words. You're important to me. Both of you are. Ava's throat felt tight. You're important to us, too. They finished the dishes in silence, but it was the good kind. The kind that didn't need filling. Later, after Leo and Lily had fallen asleep on the couch mid-movie, Ava and Noah sat on the porch with coffee, watching the neighbors' Christmas lights blink on and off. Can I ask you something? Noah said. Sure. What's your worst-case scenario with the custody thing? Ava took a sip of her coffee, buying time. Marcus gets what he wants. Leo spends every other week at his house with his new wife, living a completely different life, and I become just the parent he tolerates instead of the one he trusts. That's not going to happen. You don't know that. I know Leo. I know how much he loves you. That doesn't just go away because a judge says he has to spend more time with his dad. Ava wanted to believe him, wanted to believe that love was enough, that the bond she'd built with Leo over 7 years couldn't be undone by a custody arrangement. But she'd learned the hard way that wanting something didn't make it true. What if I lose him? she whispered. Noah set down his coffee and took her hand. You won't. You can't promise that. No, but I can promise you won't go through it alone. Ava looked at their joined hands, at the way his fingers fit around hers like they belonged there. I'm not used to this. Used to what? Having someone? Relying on someone? I know, but you're doing it anyway. That takes guts. She met his eyes. Or stupidity. Maybe both. They sat there until the cold drove them inside. Until Ava had to wake Leo and drive them home. Until reality came rushing back in. But for those few moments on the porch, with Noah's hand in hers and the quiet night around them, Ava let herself believe that maybe she didn't have to face everything alone. The weeks leading up to the court date were brutal. Depositions, meetings with lawyers, endless paperwork that turned Ava's dining room into a war room. She barely slept, barely ate, ran on coffee, and adrenaline, and the sheer terror of losing her son. Noah was there through all of it. He brought her dinner when she forgot to eat. Took Leo to the park when Ava needed to focus. Sat with her at midnight while she reviewed documents, not saying anything, just being there. You should go home, she told him one night, looking up from a stack of custody evaluations. Get some sleep. I'm good here. Noah? Ava, I'm not leaving. Stop trying to make me. She stared at him, this man who'd somehow become essential to her survival, and felt something crack open in her chest. I don't deserve you. That's the exhaustion talking. It's not. Noah closed the laptop she'd been working on. Look at me. She did. You are one of the strongest people I've ever met. You built a company from nothing. You raised an incredible kid alone. You're fighting for him even when you're terrified. That's not someone who doesn't deserve good things. That's someone who's earned them. Then why does it feel like I'm losing? Because you're scared, and that's okay. But being scared doesn't mean you're losing. Ava felt tears building behind her eyes. She was so tired of being strong, so tired of fighting, so tired of pretending she had all the answers. What if the judge sides with Marcus? What if they think Leo needs his father more than he needs me? Then we deal with it, together. How are you so calm about this? Noah smiled sadly. I'm not. I'm terrified. Because I know how much this matters to you, and I can't fix it. All I can do is be here and hope that's enough. It was enough. More than enough. Ava reached across the table and took his hand. Thank you for everything. You don't have to thank me. I do. They sat there in her dining room, surrounded by legal documents and cold coffee, and Ava realized she was falling in love with him. Had maybe been falling for weeks without admitting it. The thought should have terrified her, but instead it felt like coming home. The court hearing was held on a gray December morning that matched Ava's mood. She dressed in her most professional suit, pulled her hair into a severe bun, tried to look like the kind of mother who had everything under control. Noah offered to come, but Ava said no. This was something she needed to do herself. The courtroom was smaller than she expected, less dramatic. Just a judge, 2 lawyers, and Marcus sitting on the other side with his attorney, looking calm and confident in a way that made Ava want to scream. Her lawyer, Patricia Chen, was a shark in designer heels who'd represented Ava during the divorce. She'd promised to handle this, to protect Leo, to make sure Marcus didn't get what he wanted. The hearing started with Marcus's lawyer presenting their case. He painted a picture of a father who'd made mistakes but was trying to make amends, who wanted to be present in his son's life, who deserved a second chance. Then it was Patricia's turn. She presented evidence of Marcus's absence, missed birthdays, skipped soccer games, months of minimal contact. She brought up his infidelity during the marriage, his sudden engagement to the woman he'd cheated with, the instability of forcing a child into a new family dynamic. Ava sat there listening to her life dissected, reduced to arguments and counter-arguments, and felt numb. Then the judge asked to speak to Leo. Ava's heart stopped. Your Honor, he's 7 years old. I'm aware of his age, Ms. Sterling, but in custody matters we do take the child's preferences into consideration. He shouldn't have to choose. Patricia put a hand on her arm. Ava, let the judge do her job. They brought Leo in from the waiting room where Ava's assistant had been watching him. He looked tiny in the big courtroom, scared in his button-up shirt that Ava had made him wear. The judge smiled at him, trying to be gentle. Hi, Leo. I'm Judge Morrison. You're not in trouble, okay? I just want to ask you a few questions. Leo nodded, his eyes finding Ava across the room. I understand your dad wants to spend more time with you. How do you feel about that? Leo was quiet for a long moment. Then, I don't know. That's okay. Can you tell me about your life right now? What's a normal week like for you? I go to school and soccer on Tuesdays, and sometimes my mom and I go to Noah's house for dinner. The judge glanced at her notes. Who's Noah? He's my mom's friend. He has a daughter named Lily. She's my friend too. That sounds nice. Do you like spending time with them? Yeah, Noah helps me with my homework sometimes, and he taught me how to make pancakes. Ava felt tears building. She'd been so focused on protecting Leo from Marcus that she hadn't realized how much Noah had become part of his life, part of his normal. What about your dad? The judge asked gently. Do you like spending time with him? Leo picked at his sleeve. Sometimes. But he's not around much, and I don't know Rebecca very well. If you had to spend more time at your dad's house, how would you feel about that? I don't want to. Leo's voice was small but firm. I want to stay with my mom. Marcus's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, with all due respect, the child has been influenced. Sit down, counsel, Judge Morrison said sharply. Then to Leo, why do you want to stay with your mom? Because she's always there. Even when she's busy with work, she's still there. She doesn't miss stuff. Leo looked at Ava again. And she doesn't make me feel like I'm in the way. Ava's chest felt like it was splitting open. She'd spent so much time worrying about failing him that she'd missed the fact that he'd always known how much she loved him. The judge asked a few more questions, then dismissed Leo. He ran straight to Ava, and she pulled him into her arms, not caring that they were in a courtroom, that people were watching. You did great, she whispered. So great. After that, the hearing wrapped up quickly. The judge said she'd review everything and issue a ruling within 2 weeks. Patricia seemed confident, but Ava had learned not to count on anything. Outside the courthouse, Marcus caught up with them. Ava, can we talk? No. Please, just for a minute. Leo was already in the car with Ava's assistant. Ava turned to face her ex-husband, arms crossed. Make it quick. Marcus looked tired, older than she remembered. I heard what Leo said in there. And? And I get it. I wasn't there. I screwed up. Is there a point to this? I'm going to withdraw the petition for more custody. Ava blinked. What? He's happy, stable, and you're right. I don't have the right to disrupt that just because I feel guilty. Marcus shoved his hands in his pockets. I'll stick with the current arrangement. Every other weekend. Holidays we can figure out. Why the sudden change of heart? Because I saw his face when the judge asked him where he wanted to be, and he didn't even hesitate. Marcus's voice cracked slightly. I don't want to be the parent he's afraid of. For the first time since the divorce, Ava felt something like sympathy for him. Not forgiveness, that would take time, maybe forever, but sympathy. He needs consistency, she said. If you're going to be in his life, you have to actually be in it, not just when it's convenient. I know. I'm going to do better. I've heard that before. I mean it this time. Ava studied him, trying to figure out if he was telling the truth or just saying what she wanted to hear. Finally, she said, Okay, but if you disappoint him again, I'm done. No more chances. Fair enough. Marcus walked away, and Ava stood there on the courthouse steps, trying to process what had just happened. She'd won, not through lawyers or arguments, but because Leo had spoken up, had told the truth, had chosen her. She pulled out her phone and called Noah. He answered on the first ring. How'd it go? He withdrew the petition. Are you serious? Yeah, it's over. She heard Noah exhale, could picture the relief on his face. That's amazing. Are you okay? I don't know yet. I think so. Where are you? Still at the courthouse. Come over, both of you. We'll celebrate. Ava smiled for what felt like the first time in weeks. Okay, we'll be there soon. That night, Noah made spaghetti, Leo's favorite, and they ate on the living room floor like a picnic. Lily made a congratulations card covered in glitter that got everywhere. Leo told the story of the courtroom at least 3 times, embellishing more each time. After the kids went to bed, Noah and Ava sat on the porch again, bundled in blankets against the cold. I can't believe it's actually over, Ava said. You must be relieved. I am, but also terrified that it's temporary, that Marcus will change his mind, that Ava, Noah turned to face her. It's over. You can stop fighting now. She looked at him, at this man who'd stood by her through the worst of it, who'd never asked for anything in return, who'd just been there. I don't know how to stop, she admitted. Then I'll teach you. He kissed her then, soft and careful, like he was afraid she might break. Ava kissed him back, pouring 3 months of fear and hope and something that felt dangerously close to love into it. When they finally pulled apart, Noah was smiling. I've been wanting to do that for a while. Yeah? Since that first dinner, when you paid the check and didn't make it weird. Ava laughed, feeling lighter than she had in years. That's a low bar. Maybe, but you cleared it. They sat there in the cold, kissing and talking and watching the stars, and Ava realized this was what she'd been missing. Not perfection, not some grand romance, but this, someone who saw her at her worst and stayed anyway. The next few weeks felt like breathing after holding her breath for months. Work was still demanding, Leo still had hard days, life was still complicated. But Noah was there, steady and constant, turning chaos into something manageable. He started coming over more often, helping with homework, fixing the leaky faucet. Ava had been meaning to call a plumber about, teaching Leo how to ride a bike without training wheels. Small things that added up to everything. One Saturday in January, Ava found herself in Noah's backyard, watching him build a treehouse with Leo and Lily. They'd been at it for hours, covered in sawdust and completely focused. Hand me that hammer, Noah said to Leo. Leo passed it over. Like this? Perfect. Now hold this board steady while I nail it. They worked together. Noah patient and encouraging, Leo determined to get it right. Watching them, Ava felt something shift. She pulled out her phone and texted Rachel. I think I'm in love with him. The response came immediately. Finally. I've been waiting for you to figure that out. Was it that obvious? Ava, you baked pies. You haven't baked anything since culinary school. Ava smiled, looking back at the treehouse. Noah was showing Lily how to use the level, his hands guiding hers, his voice gentle. Leo was watching, waiting his turn. No impatience, just trust. Mom, Leo called. Come see. She walked over and they showed her their progress. A platform about 6 feet off the ground, walls half built, a ladder that looked slightly crooked but functional. It's amazing, Ava said. Noah says we can paint it next weekend. Can we do space colors like stars and planets? Whatever you want, buddy. Leo grinned and went back to work. Noah wiped sweat from his forehead, leaving a streak of sawdust. You've got something. Ava reached up and brushed it away. Noah caught her hand, held it against his cheek. Stay for dinner? We always stay for dinner. I know, but I like asking anyway. They stood there in the backyard, surrounded by half-built dreams and laughing children, and Ava realized she'd found something she didn't know she was looking for. Not just a partner, but a home. Not just for her, but for Leo, too. That evening, after dinner and dishes, and the kids finally crashed from exhaustion, Ava and Noah sat on his worn-out couch. Can I tell you something? Ava said. Always. I love you. Noah went still. Then he smiled, the kind that reached his eyes and made her heart do stupid things. Yeah? Yeah. Good. Because I love you too. He kissed her, and it was different this time. Not careful or tentative, but sure, like a promise. When they pulled apart, Ava rested her forehead against his. This is real, isn't it? As real as it gets. I'm terrified. Me too. But you're staying anyway? Noah pulled back enough to look her in the eyes. Ava, I'm not going anywhere. You're stuck with me. Promise? Promise. And for the first time in 3 years, Ava believed in promises again. Spring came to Portland with the kind of rain that felt like a promise, washing away the gray winter and leaving everything bright and new. Ava stood at her office window on a Tuesday morning, watching the city wake up beneath low clouds, and realized she couldn't remember the last time she dreaded coming to work. Her phone buzzed, a text from Noah. Lily wants to know if Leo can come to her birthday party on Saturday. It's at the park. There will be cake and way too many 8-year-olds. Ava smiled. He'd love to. What can we bring? Just yourselves. And maybe your patience. She was typing a response when her assistant Rachel knocked on the door. "You've got 5 minutes before the board meeting." "Right, thanks." Rachel lingered in the doorway. "You seem different lately." "Different how?" "Happy, less likely to bite someone's head off." Ava laughed. "I was never that bad." "You were exactly that bad, but it's good. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." The board meeting was the usual mix of quarterly reports and strategic planning, but Ava found herself only half listening. Her mind kept drifting to Saturday, to the image of Noah trying to wrangle a dozen screaming kids while Lily opened presents. When the meeting finally ended, Patricia Chen, her lawyer, caught her in the hallway. "Got a minute?" "Sure, what's up?" Patricia led her to an empty conference room and closed the door. "I got a call from Marcus's attorney this morning." Ava's stomach dropped. "What does he want now?" "Nothing, actually. He wanted to formalize the custody arrangement we discussed. No changes, just make it official so there's no confusion down the line." "That's it?" "That's it. He's sticking to his word." Ava leaned against the table, relief washing through her. "I didn't think he would." "People surprise you sometimes." Patricia gathered her files. "You should be proud. You fought for your son and you won." "I didn't do it alone." Patricia smiled. "No, you didn't. And that's the other thing that's different about you." After she left, Ava sat in the empty conference room for a few minutes, letting it sink in. It was really over. The custody battle, the constant anxiety, the fear of losing Leo. Marcus had signed the papers. It was done. She pulled out her phone and called Noah. "Hey," he answered. "Everything okay?" "Yeah, everything's perfect, actually." "That sounds ominous." Ava laughed. "It's not. I just got news about the custody thing. Marcus made it official. No more fighting." "Ava, that's incredible." "I know. I can't believe it's actually finished." "You deserve this. You and Leo both." "We should celebrate. Dinner tonight? My place?" "Can't tonight. Lily's got a school thing. Tomorrow?" "Tomorrow works." After they hung up, Ava sat there feeling lighter than she had in months, maybe years. She'd spent so long bracing for disaster that she'd forgotten what it felt like to just breathe. That afternoon, she left work early, something she rarely did, and picked Leo up from school herself instead of having the nanny do it. He was surprised to see her waiting by the pickup line. "Mom, what are you doing here?" "I finished early. Thought we could get ice cream." Leo's eyes widened. "Really? Really?" They went to the little shop downtown that made everything fresh. Leo got chocolate with gummy bears. Ava got vanilla, and they sat outside even though it was drizzling. "This is weird," Leo said, licking his cone. "Weird how? You never leave work early." Ava felt a pang of guilt. "I know. I'm sorry about that." "It's okay. I know you're busy. Not too busy for this." They ate in silence for a while, watching people hurry past with umbrellas. Then Leo said, "Mom?" "Yeah? Are you and Noah dating?" Ava nearly dropped her cone. "Where'd that come from?" Leo shrugged. "Lily asked me. She said her dad really likes you." "What did you tell her?" "That I didn't know, but I think he does. Like you, I mean." Ava studied her son's face, trying to gauge how he felt about it. "Would that be okay? If we were dating?" Leo thought about it. Seriously, the way he approached everything. "Yeah, I think so. Noah's cool, and he makes you smile more." "He does, doesn't he?" "So are you, dating?" "Yeah, buddy, we are." Leo nodded, satisfied. "Good. That means Lily and I get to hang out more." Ava laughed, feeling some of the tension ease. Of course, Leo would make it about that. "Is that the only reason you're okay with it?" "No, I also like that you're not sad anymore." The words hit Ava square in the chest. "I wasn't sad." "You were. After Dad left. You tried to hide it, but I could tell." Ava set down her ice cream, her throat suddenly tight. "I'm sorry you had to see that." "It's okay. You're better now." "I am. Thanks to you, and thanks to Noah." Leo went back to his ice cream like they'd just been discussing the weather, but Ava sat there feeling the weight of what he'd said. She had been sad, drowning in it, really, and she'd thought she'd hidden it well. But kids saw everything, felt everything, and Leo had been carrying that with him all this time. Saturday arrived bright and clear. The kind of spring day Portland only delivered a few times a year. Ava and Leo showed up at the park right on time, carrying a present Lily had specifically requested, a telescope. The party was exactly as chaotic as Noah had promised. Kids everywhere, parents trying to keep track of their offspring, balloons tied to every available surface. Noah spotted them and waved, looking harried. "Thank God you're here. I'm outnumbered. Where's the birthday girl? Last I saw, she was showing someone her new bike. But that was 10 minutes ago, so who knows?" They found Lily by the playground, surrounded by friends, wearing a crown made of pipe cleaners. When she saw Leo, she ran over. "You came!" "Happy birthday," Leo said, suddenly shy. "Did you bring the you-know-what?" "Mom has it." Ava handed over the telescope and Lily's face lit up. "This is perfect. Now we can look at real stars, not just the fake ones in the planetarium." "We can set it up into my backyard," Noah said. "Have a star party or something." "Can Leo come?" "Of course." The afternoon passed in a blur of cake and games, and children hopped up on sugar. At one point, Ava found herself sitting on a bench with a few other parents, making small talk about schools and sports, and all the mundane things that made up a life. One of the moms, Jennifer, leaned over. "So you're Noah's girlfriend?" Ava hesitated. They hadn't really defined it, hadn't put labels on anything. But sitting there, watching Noah chase kids around the playground, she realized she wanted to be. "Yeah, I am. He's a good guy. Lily talks about him constantly. About you too, actually." "She does?" "All the time. Says you're teaching her about running a business." Jennifer smiled. "My daughter thinks that's the coolest thing ever." Ava glanced across the park to where Lily and Leo were attempting some kind of complicated handshake. "She's a great kid." "So is Leo. They're good for each other." They were. And watching them together, Ava realized this wasn't just about her and Noah anymore. It was about Leo and Lily too, about building something bigger than just two adults trying to date. It was about family. As the party wound down and parents started collecting their exhausted children, Ava helped Noah clean up. They filled trash bags with paper plates and deflated balloons while the kids played one last game of tag. "Successful party?" Ava asked. "I think so. Nobody cried, nobody got hurt, and Lily's still smiling. I'm calling it a win." The telescope was a hit. "You didn't have to spend that much." "I wanted to." Noah tied off a trash bag and looked at her. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "What are we doing here?" Ava's heart skipped. "What do you mean?" "I mean, we've been doing this for months now. These dinners, these hangouts, telling people we're dating, but we've never actually talked about what this is, where it's going." Ava set down the bag she was holding. "Where do you want it to go?" "I want it to go somewhere real, permanent. I want to stop wondering if you're going to wake up one day and decide this is too complicated." "I'm not going to do that." "How do I know?" It was a fair question. Ava had spent 3 years keeping people at arm's length, protecting herself and Leo from getting hurt again. But Noah had gotten past her defenses without her even realizing it, and now the idea of losing him felt worse than the risk of letting him in. "You don't," she said honestly, "but I can tell you that I love you, and I want this, whatever this is, to keep going. I want you in my life, in Leo's life, for real." Noah stepped closer. "I want that too, but I need to know you're all in, not just testing the water." "I'm all in." "Yeah? Yeah?" He kissed her then, right there in the middle of the park, with half the neighborhood watching, and Ava didn't care. She kissed him back, feeling certain for the first time in years. When they pulled apart, Leo and Lily were standing a few feet away, grinning. "Gross," Leo said, but he was smiling. "So gross," Lily agreed. That night, after they dropped off Lily and Noah at their house, Leo was quiet on the drive home. Ava kept glancing at him in the rear-view mirror. "You okay, buddy?" "Yeah, just thinking." "About what?" "Do you think you'll marry Noah?" Ava nearly swerved into the next lane. "Where did that come from?" "I don't know. You love him, right?" "I do." "And he loves you?" "Yeah." "So doesn't that mean you get married?" Ava pulled into their driveway and turned off the car. "It's not that simple." "Why not?" "Because marriage is complicated, and I want to make sure we do things right this time." Leo unbuckled his seatbelt. "I think you should marry him. Then Lily could be my real sister." She can be your sister without us getting married. I know, but it would be cooler if it was official. He got out of the car, leaving Ava sitting there trying to process the conversation. Marriage. She hadn't even let herself think that far ahead, too focused on just making it through each day without screwing things up. But now Leo had planted the seed, and Ava couldn't stop thinking about it. The next few weeks passed in a comfortable rhythm. Work, dinners with Noah, weekends at the park, the four of them falling into patterns that felt less like dating and more like living. Noah started keeping a toothbrush at Ava's house. She had spare clothes in his closet, small things that added up to something bigger. Then one Thursday evening in May, everything changed. Ava was at Noah's house, helping him cook dinner while the kids did homework at the table. Her phone rang, an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello? Is this Ava Sterling? Yes. Who's this? This is Dr. Morrison from Providence Hospital. We have your ex-husband, Marcus Sterling, here. He's been in an accident. Ava's blood went cold. Is he okay? He's stable, but he's asking for you, and for his son. She looked at Leo, bent over his math worksheet, completely oblivious. What happened? Car accident. He'll be fine, but he's pretty shaken up. Can you come? I'll be there in 20 minutes. She hung up and found Noah watching her. What's wrong? Marcus is in the hospital, car accident. He wants to see Leo. Noah's expression shifted immediately. I'll watch him if you need to go. He asked for Leo, too. Do you want me to come with you? Ava looked at her son, at his peaceful expression, and felt torn. She didn't want to scare him, didn't want to drag him to a hospital to see his father broken and bleeding. But Marcus had asked for him. Maybe needed him. Yeah, she said finally. I think I do. They told Leo together, keeping it simple. His dad had been in an accident. He was okay, but he wanted to see them. Leo went pale but nodded, already grabbing his jacket. At the hospital, they found Marcus in the emergency room with a broken arm and bruised ribs, looking worse than Ava had ever seen him, but conscious and coherent. When he saw Leo, his face crumpled. Hey, buddy. Leo hung back, unsure. Ava put a hand on his shoulder. It's okay. Go say hi. He walked over slowly. Marcus reached out with his good arm, and Leo took his hand. I'm sorry, Marcus said, and it took Ava a second to realize he wasn't talking to Leo. He was looking at her. For everything. For being a terrible husband and a worse father. For putting you through hell with the custody thing. For all of it. Ava didn't know what to say. She'd imagined this moment before, Marcus apologizing, taking responsibility. But now that it was happening, it felt anticlimactic. You don't have to do this now, she said. Yeah, I do. Because I almost died tonight, and the first thing I thought was that I'd wasted so much time. Time I could have spent being a real father to Leo. Time I wasted being angry at you for being successful when I should have been proud. Leo was watching his father with wide eyes. Marcus squeezed his hand. I want to do better, be better. Not just for custody or because it makes me look good, but because you deserve a dad who shows up. Okay, Leo said quietly. Marcus looked back at Ava. I know I don't have the right to ask, but can we try? Co-parenting for real this time? Ava thought about the past 3 years, all the anger and resentment and fear. She thought about the custody battle, the late nights crying, the constant terror of losing Leo. And then she thought about Noah's words on her porch months ago, that some things, once broken, stayed broken. But maybe some things could be fixed, not back to what they were, but into something new. We can try, she said. But Marcus, if you disappear again, I won't, I promise. They stayed for another hour until Marcus was moved to a regular room and started falling asleep from the pain medication. In the parking lot, Leo was quiet, processing. You okay? Ava asked. I think so. It was weird seeing Dad like that. I know. Do you think he means it? About being better? Ava looked at Noah, who'd been silent through the whole thing, just present and supportive like always. I don't know, but we're going to give him a chance to prove it. Leo nodded, then climbed into the back seat. Noah took Ava's hand. You handled that well. I didn't know what else to do. You did exactly right. They drove back to Noah's house in silence. Leo fell asleep in the car, and Noah carried him inside, laying him on the couch next to Lily, who'd already crashed. On the porch, Ava finally let herself fall apart a little. Noah held her while she cried, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming relief of letting go, of finally releasing all the anger she'd been carrying. "I'm proud of you," Noah said into her hair. "For what?" "For giving him another chance, even after everything." "I'm doing it for Leo." "I know, but it's still brave." They stood there in the dark, and Ava realized this was what love looked like. Not grand gestures or perfect moments, but someone holding you together when you felt like falling apart. Marcus did better. Not perfectly. He still missed some weekends, still fumbled when Leo talked about things he didn't understand, but he tried. He showed up to soccer games, remembered birthdays, called to check in instead of only texting through lawyers. And slowly, carefully, they built something that resembled co-parenting. Not friendship, not forgiveness exactly, but functional, respectful, good enough. Summer arrived, and with it, a heat wave that drove everyone to the river. Ava, Noah, and the kids spent weekends at swimming holes, eating watermelon and teaching Lily and Leo to skip stones. One Saturday in July, they were all at Noah's house. Ava had basically moved in at this point, though neither of them had officially said so, working in the backyard. The treehouse was finished now, painted with stars and planets just like Leo wanted. The kids were up in it, playing some elaborate game that involved a lot of yelling. Noah was fixing the fence. Ava was supposed to be weeding the garden, but was mostly just watching him work. "You're staring," he said without looking up. "I'm admiring. That's creepy. Sue me." He set down his hammer and walked over, pulling her up from the dirt. "Come with me for a second." "Where are we going?" "You'll see." He led her around to the front of the house, to his beat-up truck parked in the driveway. From the glove compartment, he pulled out a small box. Ava's heart stopped. "Noah." "Before you panic, just listen." He opened the box. Inside was a simple silver ring, nothing fancy, just a band with a small diamond. "I know this is fast. I know we've only been together for less than a year, but Ava, I've never been more sure of anything in my life." "Are you asking you to marry me?" "Yeah, I am." Ava stared at the ring, at this man who'd somehow become her entire world, and felt tears building. "I'm a mess. I work too much. I'm terrible at cooking. I don't know how to turn off my brain." "I know. I don't care. And Leo loves me, and I love him, and we both love you even when you're a mess." "This is crazy." "Probably." Noah took the ring out of the box. "But is that a yes?" Ava looked at the house behind them, at the treehouse in the backyard where their kids were playing, at the life they'd accidentally built together. She thought about everything she'd been through to get here. The divorce, the custody battle, the years of doing everything alone, and she realized she didn't want to do it alone anymore. "Yes," she said. "It's a yes." Noah slipped the ring on her finger and it fit perfectly. Then he kissed her, and somewhere in the backyard, Leo and Lily started cheering. They pulled apart to find both kids hanging out of the treehouse, grinning like maniacs. "Did you see that?" Leo shouted. "We saw everything," Lily yelled back. "Were you spying?" Ava called up. "Maybe." Noah laughed, wrapping his arm around Ava's waist. "Guess the secret's out." "Guess so." They walked back to the yard together, and the kids scrambled down from the treehouse, already talking over each other about the wedding, about being a real family, about all the things they'd get to do together. Ava stood there listening to them plan her future, and for the first time in her life, she wasn't scared. She wasn't trying to control every outcome or protect herself from disaster. She was just happy. The wedding happened 3 months later, small and simple in Noah's backyard under the trees. Just family and close friends, Leo and Lily standing up with them, wearing matching outfits they'd picked out themselves. When it came time for vows, Ava looked at Noah and forgot every carefully planned word she'd prepared. "I don't have a speech," she said. "I had one, but it felt wrong, too polished, too much like a business presentation." The small crowd laughed. "So I'm just going to say this. You saved me. Not in some dramatic, sweep me off my feet way, but in all the small ways that actually matter. You showed up. You stayed. You loved my son like he was yours. And you taught me that I didn't have to be perfect to deserve good things." She looked at Leo, who was crying and trying to hide it. "And you, buddy, you're the reason for all of this. The reason I kept going, kept fighting, kept believing we'd be okay. You're the best thing I've ever done." Then back to Noah. I love you. Both of you. All of us. This weird, imperfect family we've built. Noah wiped his eyes. Well, now I feel like my vows are going to sound lame. More laughter. Ava, when I met you, I was convinced I'd had my shot at love, that I'd had my time and it was over. But you showed me that life doesn't work like that you can lose everything and still find something worth fighting for. He glanced at Lily. We both found that. And I promise to keep showing up, keep staying, keep loving you even when you're impossible. Especially when I'm impossible, Ava corrected. Especially then. They said their I do's, kissed while everyone cheered, and just like that, it was official. At the reception, which was really just a barbecue in the same backyard, Ava found herself standing apart from the crowd, watching Noah dance with Lily while Leo tried to teach one of his cousins how to do a cartwheel. Rachel appeared beside her with 2 glasses of champagne. You did it! Did what? Found your happy ending. Ava took the glass. I don't think it's an ending, more like a beginning. Even better. Rachel clinked their glasses together. 2 beginnings. 2 beginnings. As the sun set and the party continued around her, Ava thought about everything that had led to this moment, the divorce that had broken her, the custody battle that had nearly destroyed her, the fear that had kept her alone for so long. And she thought about the spilled glass of water at a restaurant 6 months ago, about a man who'd turned a disaster into a conversation, about the quiet strength that had earned her trust without demanding it. Love, she realized, wasn't about finding someone perfect. It was about finding someone who saw your imperfections and stayed anyway. Someone who showed up when things got hard. Someone who made you want to be better without making you feel like you weren't enough. Noah caught her eye across the yard and smiled, and Ava smiled back, feeling the weight of her ring on her finger. She'd spent years building an empire, proving she could do everything alone. But this imperfect, chaotic, beautiful family was the thing she was most proud of. Not because it was easy, but because it was real. And real, she'd learned, was always better than perfect.